Fidesz party leader Viktor Orban emerged victorious on Sunday after an acrimonious campaign which saw him speak out against unchecked immigration and the EU's refugee policy. And now the EU will be faced with a country determined to challenge the bloc, and real fears he will attempt to dismantle the union from the inside. Brussels appears far more wary of Hungary even than Britain's Brexit, because EU rebel Mr. Orban wants to remain inside the bloc, but change the very ideals it stands for. In a speech before he emerged victorious, Mr. Orban hinted he was ready to fight the EU, saying, "After the election we will of course seek amends, moral, political and legal amends on one side, national and democratic forces, and, on the other side, supranational and anti-democratic forces." Although Hungary is economically and financially dependent on Western European markets and investment, as well as EU structural aid, in recent years Budapest has pushed back against Brussels-based governance. Much of this is triggered by their opposition to the EU's refugee policy and their campaign on a nationalist agenda which advocates more sovereignty rather than more Europe. Mr. Orban's message has focused on stopping migration and protecting Hungary from outsiders like billionaire financier George Soros. Reuters. Hungary election 2018. Viktor Orban claimed victory for a fourth term, and now in his fourth term, he could feel empowered by the voters' choice to put more muscle into an anti-EU Central European alliance, which opposes to a deeper integration of the bloc and a shared responsibility of the hospitality of refugees reaching the European Union. Europe has instead seen the rise of protectionism and anti-immigration parties. Mr. Orban fought his latest election on an anti-migration platform, and has claimed that the left-wing opposition parties were threatening the country's security and Christian faith by turning Hungary into an immigrant country through forming deeper alliances with the European Union and the United Nations. Anti-immigration sentiment was also echoed on Hungarian media, with the state-owned television news channel M1 highlighting the negative effects of immigration on the country in its Sunday programming. Reuters. Hungary election 2018. Viktor Orban is set to fight the EU. Opposition parties and leaders have consequently expressed their concern over the overwhelming majority won by Mr. Orban and his party, saying that a supermajority would allow him to push through damaging constitutional changes and to crack down further on civic rights. Claiming victory while the National Electoral Office was still counting the votes last night, Mr. Orban declared, "We have won." Addressing the crowd outside Fidesz headquarters, Mr. Orban congratulated the voters for heading to the polling stations. He said, "Thank you for having placed your faith in us, thank you for having stuck with us." Mr. Orban then thanked all the people who prayed for us and prayed for me personally, along with his wife and the party volunteers. He added, "This has been a decisive win. In the future we are going to be able to defend our mother country." This was following the singing the anthem of the 1948 revolution.